tower. Yeah, basically.
One more interesting point about that is just that I think that sync can work in some circumstances, and I think, as you said, that the sync in Ableton 8's a lot better than it has been in the past. And just the way we play songs, we split the song up into sections, so we have 3 computers. Each person is playing a stripe. So it's really noticeable if it goes off at all. Sometimes if you have one computer running effects and one computer has the master, it may not matter quite as much. But
also if you're doing loops, it might not be as big of a deal because you could always maybe kind of catch up to the beat and stuff. But let's say you're syncing 3 computers, where basically all 3 computers are part of the arrangement and they're all playing in the arrangement, and then you're playing stuff on top of that. Then you're hosed if something goes wrong. And we had built all these things into basically like the computer that was running my set, that basically if BORETA's computer screwed up, then like I could basically just hit a button on the lemur and bam, it would just play their part, while they reset their computer, while they basically beat match back, catch up to the session, and then we kind of have to do this whole trick where like, okay, you ready? Like, okay, on the count of 3, you unmute, and then like I'll hit mute on here, and it's just kind of a pain in the butt, really. So we've just kind of really just given up on the whole sync thing for the time being. So.
But I guess the other important thing about what you guys are doing is, so these guys, if you haven't seen their live act, they now have these lemur multi-touch screens that they use, and so those are all plugged into a big Ethernet hub, right?
yeah, into a switch, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, even though you guys aren't necessarily, well, you've answered 2 questions. One being, and I've heard this, people say, well, you don't need sync to happen automatically. Do it like they did in the old days, and tap it in yourself, or, I mean, real musicians can stay together. Of course, yeah, but we've now answered the reason why that isn't a complete answer, because real musicians also don't have perfectly identical multi-tap delays coming out of them. And if they did, they would need this too. So I guess you could also say, if you have a symphony orchestra, though that's a terrible example. Symphony orchestras can usually play without the conductor. So forget that example. But they can't. Well, some of them can. Some of them can't. Sometimes you have to pretend that you can't to make the conductor feel useful. Depends. But the bottom line is you guys are doing things that would not work without sync. And then in your case, you were able to get rid of the sync, but the thing that was important seems like it's the ability for you guys to play together.
Right.
So the other thing that's cool about this setup is that not only are these lemurs shiny and brightly colored, but that they can network the same way that we could all like hang out at Richard's and plug into his Wi-Fi, right?
That's right.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, that if we're done with sync,
Sure.
Yeah. Sync thoughts?
We're all in sync.
Okay, sync. Okay, good. Well, one of the interesting things about the lemur is that they sort of allow this. For us, at least, we've always been looking for a way to show people what it is we're doing, because we started off with laptop and a trigger finger, and it was really hard to demonstrate to people what it is we were actually doing up there, because we were playing samples, drumming beats. So the lemur allowed us to really show people what it is we're doing, and that's a really interesting step for us. And we took a page out of our friend Daedalus's book and tilted the lemurs forward. So we have 3 lemurs on stage, and the way the lemurs work actually allowed us to move the laptop under the table, which was another important move for us. So when we play a show, there's actually just 3 lemurs on stage. And we have some other controllers too. We have MPDs and some of Lisa's drum pads. But because the lemur is so versatile in programmability, we actually have everything mapped out ahead of time so that we don't need to actually ever look at the laptop. And I don't think we would have been able to do that otherwise.
Yeah. I gotta say on that, I just saw them play like last week.
Elric.
And I was backstage, and I watched the whole set from backstage, and the computer was on the floor in sleep mode the whole time. I was like, that is awesome. Like, it had the screensaver going.
That was the first time I heard that.
That's really cool to not have to look at the computer at all the entire time. It's awesome.
Wait, the computer was awake.
The screen was in sleep mode.
We accidentally had the screensaver on and Ben noticed. So yeah, the MacBook Pro can handle 3 lemurs, 9 controllers total, and be running a screensaver and still hang 50% and never crash. So thank you, Steve Jobs.
Actually, that sounds like the perfect segue to, so one thing that you can show your audience is shiny, pretty touchscreens. You can also show them physical controllers, which Matt Moldover has here at our feet, if you want to hold that up. And you hold that up for your audience, right?
Shiny physical controller.
It is? Oh, it is shiny. The buttons are shiny.
Well, I did have one thing to add about the sync thing, which is that I came to the same conclusion that you guys did, where I've done a lot of like jamming with other artists and trying to sync up laptops and working with MIDI sync, and it's always been a nightmare. And the best I've been able to do is like we hit start at the same time with the same tempo, and that's do a start stop to resync. It's all I ever found.
But now Jordan and Owen have solved it.
I mean, it's a work in progress. It's a work in progress. It's not perfect, but.
But the important thing about it is that, so how many people here have not heard of OSC, Open Sound Control? Everyone here reads my site, I guess. Great. Which needs a new acronym, because open is good, and control is good, and sound is not really what it does. So, but the thing that's important about open sound, one of the things that's important about OSC is that it's time-stamped, which means that part of the reason that Jordan and Owen were able to do with it what they were, correct me if I'm wrong, is that there's time information encoded in each message, which is actually how I got here, right? On my GPS, the reason that your GPS on your phone works is because the GPS on your phone looks at the timestamps from satellites miles above us, orbiting the Earth, and it compares the timestamps and figures out where you are based on the speed that it takes light to receive. How does it work?
But you know,
That's about right. That's sort of right. Yeah.
but one of the difficult things though actually is in trying to get stable sync from a clock that can but is that you need like an uninterrupted source of ticks. So if you have your computer doing other thing where it's thinking about anything, it has to stop doing that tick for a minute. The next time you get a tick, it's a little off. So the idea is to get like a clock from your computer that's tight enough that you're not getting jitter at that point. And that's actually really, really hard.
Is it possible?
You need an atomic time clock?
Yeah.
Or is the time accurate enough, or is it just that you need a server that does nothing else?
Well, so that's like, it's kind of hard. Like one of the things is you can lock down like a core if you have a multi-core processor. Because the idea is like, we
could probably use GPS.
Or we could use,
Yeah.
But the idea is like you need a very stable source. It's a really hard problem. So, but we've got much closer.
But it does sound like the ultimate solution would be something like a sync server,
Yes.
where you'd have a little box, something like a little cheap box that all of your computers would plug into, and that would just provide this OSC timecode tick stream.
Yeah, so right now what we have working is a server client framework. So one computer runs a server and then there's a switch and everybody plugs into it. And we tested it with, I think, like 4 or 5 machines and 3 robots. And we have about, like plus or minus 0.5 BPM. So it's not the best, but it's all right so far.
It's starting, it's progress.
Yeah, but it's progress.
Cool.
So.
Okay, well that's not conclusive, but that's still cool.